We're at the Pint and Plow. These guys are so low key. They probably haven't even told you. This is the #1 brewery in the state of Texas. Texas is 27 million people, 1,000 miles from north to south, 1,000 miles from east to west. This is the #1 brewery in the state. What an honor. I guess so.
I tell you,
And
Ron.
not only that, they are also ranked nationally. Number 32 in the nation. These guys know what they're doing when it comes to making beer. And to picking out entertainers too.
That's
That
right,
would be
Ron.
me.
That's a joke.
How come is it, Ron, that here in this highfalutin place you got chosen?
I think that heckler from the crowd wants to know why they've allowed me to perform here. And there's a very good answer. I bribed them. It took a lot of money. I do know I don't have any money, but you know, you might know that Londa lost her credit card 6 months or so ago, and I've been getting the bill every month, and I've been paying it because the guy who found her card is charging so much less than she does, it saves me a lot of money. I've got a lot of money to bribe these guys, and so I did. And the next thing you probably want to know is how long have Londa and I been married? Londa, do you want to wave your hand so everybody knows who you are? There she is. 88 months this woman has put up with me, and I think it's really something that she's. But you know what? I had a friend I talked to the other day. He had just celebrated his 50th wedding anniversary, and I said, "How'd you do it?" He said, "Well, for our 25th wedding anniversary, we went to Italy, and we had a really nice time. And then for our 50th wedding anniversary, I went back and got her. Worked out really well." Another friend I had talked to me a couple of weeks ago, and he forgot his 48th year anniversary. Hard to imagine, but he did. He forgot it. She ragged him for 2 weeks. Serious, real serious ragging. Finally he said, "What could I possibly do to make it up to you?" And she said, "Well, I'd like to see something out in that driveway in the morning that goes from 0 to 200 in 10 seconds. And when she woke up in the morning and looked out in that driveway, there was a brand new bathroom scale. He is in the doghouse, believe me. I'm sure there are people out there in the audience who would like to know how Londa took it when she found out I was changing careers and becoming a comedian. And so I'm going to tell you a couple stories about that. The first thing is, I've been collecting these stories for a long time, 4 years, in little 3x5 books. And so I've been telling them for a long time. And the first thing Londa asked is that she wanted to have a new remote that would have a mute button for my jokes. So I hope she gets it for Christmas. We'll see. Now, as far as other careers that I've been in, that's what she wanted to know. Well, if you're going to be a comedian, what'd you do before? And that's a good question, really. So I'm a volunteer now at the cross up on the hill here, the empty cross. And before that, I was a dog sitter. And I had 7 dogs that I took care of, sometimes for a week or even 2 at a time. And I would go out to the people's home. It was 80 acres, all fenced in. And every morning I would take those dogs for a 1-hour walk. And one morning, when they would walk, they would go everywhere. They didn't go together. But one morning, they all gathered underneath one specific tree on 80 acres and started barking. And I went over there to see what it was. And what it was about 20 feet up in that tree, not even that, 15, was a porcupine. This was serious. So I ran down at least a quarter of a mile to my car, and I got my pistol. I didn't want those dogs to get in trouble with that porcupine. And when I got down there and got aiming up in the tree, and I slowly pulled the trigger, the barrel fell out. And those dogs all looked at me like I was absolutely crazy, nuts. That was a true story that happened to me. Before that now, not many people know this. I actually was a country western singer. My stage name was Pete Parker. I had a cassette tape made, 2 songs on it, and I toured the country. I started out in Colorado and went to Wyoming and Washington. I went to, I think, 13 states. And then when I ended up in Nashville, it was a Saturday morning. And I actually went to the Grand Ole Opry. I figured it's about time. I mean, you're going to go for it or not, so I did. And I was lucky enough to find the door open up to this stage. And I got out on that stage, seats 2,000 people. And there, in the audience, were 2 women tourists. And they didn't know quite what to think of me. But I just started belting out songs. And after my first song, there was a tremendous ovation that I received from those 2. It was heartwarming. I went into my second song, and the same thing happened. It felt good. And then in the middle of my third song, I heard this deep voice behind me. Do you mind? And it was a tour guide with 50 tourists. And I was asked to leave the stage there. And there's only one other person who's been kicked off of that stage of the Grand Ole Opry. And his name is, you know him, Hank Williams Sr. He got kicked off for drinking. So I figure I'm in pretty good company there with those guys, with that guy. Now, you wonder, am I going to sing a song tonight? No. And I've already been through that with my video producer, which is Mark here. He's not going to move because he's taping this, so it can go on YouTube. And Mark threatened to resign if I sang tonight, so I'm not going to. You can breathe a sigh of relief. So now somebody out there in that audience probably wants to know, well, what do you do? That's a fair question. So a couple of notes I've got here. 33 years ago, they said to me, you got emphysema. 22 years ago, I quit smoking. 17 years ago, they gave me a transplant, a lung transplant, just this right side. And 7 years ago, I started going up to my lung transplant center in St. Louis every 4 or 5 weeks for a tune-up. They developed a system that would help my body not to reject my lung. So I go up there every month or so, and they help me out. Now, the only reason I can do this is because of an organization called Angel Flights. And those guys give me a ride up there. It's 1,000 miles. It takes 3 of them to get me there and 3 of them to get me back. They don't charge me. They treat me like royalty, and they are very enjoyable people to know. We even have one of those pilots with us tonight. Mark, can you stand up and take a bow? There's one of the Angel Flights guys. There's another one right here in Kerrville. He's not here tonight. I can't imagine why not. But there are a lot of things going on tonight, so we can let that go, I guess. But most of these, I'm not saying Mark, but most of these pilots are mature. They're mature. They're not young people. They're quite mature. And so I was really surprised at this one guy who showed up. Well, I'm your pilot. And I said, well, how come you look so young? And he really did. He looked younger than I did.
No.
And he said, well, I sleep in formaldehyde. And he wasn't kidding, I don't think. I don't know. So anyway, these Angel Flights guys, there's 1,200 of them just here in Texas. And they're wonderful people. They love to fly, of course, but they also love to help others. And if you know anybody that needs to be transported for medical reasons, you can get with the Angel Flights southcentral.org. It's easy to get set up with them. I've been hanging out with these medical people up there in St. Louis quite a while now, and they tell me stories. And the first story I want to tell you about is when I first went in there to see if I could get a transplant, they said to me, well, you're sort of an upside down guy. What are you talking about? Well, your nose runs and your feet smell. It's upside down. Then I wanted to tell you about the respiratory technologist that I talked with a couple of weeks ago. And he said, I had a really bad day yesterday. I went home and I made myself a rum and coke. And I was walking downstairs to go into the family room. And I fell down the stairs. And when I came to, I was on my back on the floor of the family room. And I hurt everywhere. I was in severe pain. And he said, well, I didn't know quite what to do. So I got up and went upstairs and made a bigger rum and coke. Thought that would work. So you might wonder, do I ever get up there to St. Louis and back any way except flying? And the answer is yes, sometimes I do. One time not too long ago, they said, we don't want you flying this time. Might not be good for your health. So I came back on Amtrak. And as soon as I got on this Amtrak plane, there was a woman right across the aisle from me, and she said, I'm from Australia, and I've ridden a lot of trains. I have some experience. I wonder if you know what's the hardest thing about catching a train? What's the hardest? I don't know. What is it? And she said, well, it's find someone that can throw it to you. Real difficult. But one time I was going commercial and I was taking Southwest Airlines, and I was out at the St. Louis airport, commercial airport, and I met a woman from Poteet. Anybody know where that is? South of downtown here. It's the strawberry capital of Texas, but maybe 100 miles south of San Antonio. And this story is probably going to fall flat because they did get some snow down there recently, but it's very unusual. And the reason she was up there in St. Louis at the airport is she just married a guy from Missouri, and she had moved up there. And the first thing he told her when he got there is, now if we get a blizzard and it starts to snow, I want you to promise me you'll pull off the road and wait for a tow truck to come by and then follow it. And it wasn't 2 weeks later, she said, and there was a big snowstorm. And she did pull off. Didn't have to wait too long, and here comes a snowplow. She did follow it for quite a long time. And finally, that snowplow stopped. And the driver got out and came back, asked her to roll her window down, and he said to her, are you following me? She said yes. And he said, well, why? Well, the reason I'm following you is my husband asked me to, in case there was a big snowstorm. So the snowplow driver said, well, okay, that's okay then. We're finished up now with the Walmart lot. Now we're going over to Best Buy. That's the way that works. Can you believe this? I was in a coffee shop here in town not too long ago, and this woman came up to me. I had never seen her before. She was in her 90s, and she looked me straight in the eye and she said, I swear this is true, have you had your rabies shot yet? You know those stories how you always wish you could have said? What I wish I would have said to her was, yes, I just had one from the pound before I escaped. I think that would have been a good one. And then after a joke like that, somebody is going to say to me, I'm sure, Ron, you're very close to an idiot. And then, of course, I would say back, am I crowding you? Yeah, I would do that. And then I would say, I really like long walks, especially by other people who really annoy me. Now, I have a question for you tonight, and your question is, I don't know if you've been watching the news today, but quite a famous actress cut herself in her wrist with a knife. Anybody hear about that? Her name was Reese.
Reese Witherspoon?
No, it was with a knife, not with a spoon.
Ron, aren't you ever serious? That's so racist.
I'm glad you asked that, Paula. You know, I am serious about something, and that is, we all have the same questions, I find out. As I go through life and I go to seminars and I talk to people and I ask questions, people come to me and they say, I had the same question. And I do the same thing with people. We're all wondering about the same things. Some of us get them answered early and some of them later, but we're wondering the same things. And I had a question, and my question was, am I going to make it into heaven or not? I came up in northern Wisconsin as a Lutheran, and I never really got it. I went to church, I am a Christian, but I never really got it. And I worked as an engineer before I came here, 12 states, all across the country. Every Sunday I'm in church. I never got it. So I found out that probably there were other people that didn't get it, and they were Christians. And so at my job up at the cross, I started asking the people, if you died today, you sure you're going to heaven? 50% of the people, the Christians that come up there, cannot say yes to that question. And so what I did is I found 5 verses in the Bible that tell the story real clearly, and I have those copies of those verses for anyone that would like them tonight. And the long and the short of it is, we need to ask Jesus for forgiveness of our sins. That's what gets us in. And here are the verses, in case anybody wants any. I have them for you right up here. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention, and thank you for coming, and ask you to stick around because we're going to have a wonderful entertainment tonight. Ragtime guitars. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.